Now, there's coming a day when you and I are going to all have to give an account. And it is every man, woman, and boy and girl. One of my friends called me the other day on the cell phone, and he was over in Alabama. Sometimes Brother Henry calls me from over in Alabama. And one of my friends called me, and the reason he was prompted to call me, he was looking at the cotton fields in Alabama. And he said, I saw these cotton fields and I thought about you and I wanted to call you and check on you. He knew, he sat under my preaching and teaching before, and he knew that I have made reference to the cotton fields several times in ministry. And I said to him something that I have said to you and others in other churches at other times. I said, is the cotton getting white in Alabama? He said, yes, it is. Now, those of you that know anything about cotton, you know that it is harvested in the autumn time, in the autumn season. In Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas, and other states, and other places in the world, this is the time, at least in our geographical area, for the farmer to gather the harvest into his barn or into his storehouse. Now, I use the cotton for a reason. Jesus says the fields of harvest are white. Cotton is white as white can be. And Jesus said the fields are white to be harvested. That means they are ripe. They are ready right now to be harvested. Jesus told us when the time of harvest is. He said it is when the fields are white. It is when the fields are ripe, and he said that is the time for the harvest to be gathered. And then he went on and he said the harvest time is right now. Now, souls can be harvested any time of the year in the spiritual sense, but there will probably not be a greater time for God to remind us of the harvest than during the natural harvest time. The month of September is leaving us and October is upon us, and some of the farmers call the full moon in September the harvest moon, and others say that it is the October moon that is the harvest moon. I guess that matters about where you are and what crop that you're gathering in. But nevertheless, the harvest moon comes in the autumn time and in the autumn season. There is something unique about the month of October usually. But man, you can't tell about the seasons much anymore, can you? But in the month of October, usually it is a dry month. And God has ordained that to give the farmer enough time to get the crops in October. Now, God knows this, and every wise farmer knows this. The reason the harvest moon is looked upon is that in times past, even at night, when seasons were favorable, the farmers, by that big, bright, full moon, they could even gather crops, even when the night had come upon them. Farmers know this. Every cotton farmer knows this. There is a short allotment of time between the times that cotton gets ripe. A short season of time between the times that cotton gets ripe, white, and then the times of allotment to get the crops in. Cotton farmers know this. They have to work very diligently because they have a short time to get it in. I want to tell you what happens to the crop if the farmer fails. If his tractor and equipment breaks down, or if he gets sick and he can't work the crops. If there's nobody there to gather the crops in, the crops will be lost. And the cold and the freezing temperatures and the winter rains will set in, and the crops will be lost and they will not be saved. Now, to bring it home, we're in the autumn season. And winter is on the way. There are people that if they're not saved between now and winter, the souls of mankind will be lost and they are in the reach of this church. If you and I do not reach them, or some other church does not reach them, they will die and go into eternity without God, and the harvest will have been lost. It would have been wasted. Now, God is the farmer. He's the one that plants the crop. And the crop is men and women and boys and girls. Jesus told us, He said, I don't really want you to talk about this in the future. And I don't want you to have a vision of this in the future, though if time tarries, He will do that again. He'll remind us. Jesus said, if you would hear me today, and you would obey me today, Jesus says, I want you to know the time of the harvest is not 4 months down the road, but it's right now. You and I do not know what 4 months from now holds. I can promise you this. Somebody that you know in the next 4 months is going into eternity to meet God. It's going to come to be. And they're going to one of two worlds. Yesterday afternoon I got on the internet and I looked at today's paper and I looked at the obituary column. And I saw a name there of a dear friend of mine. I've known him for many years. I used to work with him. He was a very good man. He was a preacher. And I saw his obituary in the paper. And so I thought, yesterday afternoon I got this newsletter and I thought I have to go to the visitation because the funeral is today, which is Sunday at 2 o'clock, and I can't make the funeral. So I went to the church where he was lying, and I talked somewhat with one of his sons, and I saw some other people and greeted some other people there. And then as I was leaving the church, it's just like the Lord says, why don't you walk through the cemetery? My car was parked over in the edge of the cemetery because there was a great number of cars in the church parking lot, and it was just about full. So I thought that was the Lord, so I walked through the cemetery. I saw the grave where my friend will be laid today about 3 o'clock. And I began to look at the names on the tombstones there. And I saw the name of a lady that I preached her funeral about 3 years ago. She's buried there. And then I saw her husband's name on the other side of the tombstone. He is still alive. And then I began to think, what is life really about, anyhow? Well, you know, it's about a lot of things, isn't it? It's the most precious thing that you and I have. It's life. The breath that we breathe, it's precious to us. There is a statistic that says this. It says that every day, every 24 hours, there are approximately 93,000 people that go into eternity lost. I don't know how they know that because no man knows the heart but God, but I think I can gather some kind of an idea how they have derived that number. The numbers can change from time to time, but the last accurate figure that I heard was this, that there are about 155,000 people every day that die in this world. 155,000. And so that statistic we can't argue with. It's a reality. And so it's very possible that at least 2/3 of these people die lost without God. Does that trouble you?